Taiwan. I'm Philip Brossard with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan and the U.S. are forging more connections to cooperate on making drones. A drone development and testing center in southern Taiwan's Chiayi has signed an agreement with a center in San Bernardino, California, to give each other access for testing and training and to share drone technology and expertise. The Chiayi Center opened in 2022 to promote Taiwan's domestic development of unmanned aerial vehicles. The head of Chiayi County, who attended the signing, says the agreement will help connect Taiwan's drone makers to international markets. Engineers in eastern Taiwan are racing to identify at-risk buildings after dozens of aftershocks rattled Hualien from Monday to Tuesday. The spate of tremors comes just 3 weeks after a magnitude 7.2 quake hit the region, causing widespread damage. John Van Trieste reports.
This apartment block withstood the 7.2 earthquake that shook Hualien earlier this month. But major aftershocks on Tuesday proved too much for the weakened structure, collapsing a whole wall. Residents had been evacuated so demolition crews could take down a collapsed building next door. These two say no one told them that their building was also at risk. Hualien's building inspectors have found 57 buildings that either need to be repaired or demolished. But they've only been going to places where residents report damage. Damage that's not reported or just not noticed is slipping through the cracks. This hotel was still occupied when it began to lean Tuesday. No one was killed, but no one had declared the building unsafe either. Some local officials are unhappy with what they see as a passive approach to damage inspection.
花莲县政府应该要扛起这样子的责任，来主动出击，来主动来去深入来调查。
But while Hualien took the brunt of the damage in the recent earthquakes, there are over 200 buildings across the country that have either been condemned or declared unsafe without repairs. In Taipei, Mayor Jiang Wan'an says there's already been another round of checks, just to be sure.
从0403花莲大地震到目前累积进线建物的状况大概有1800多件。区公所也结合三大技师工会来全面的去就红黄单再检视一次。那目前已经完成0403的红黄单建物。
Checks in neighboring New Taipei found no further signs of damage either. But just to be sure nothing gets missed, like in Hualien, the central government has a plan.
方署和国土署来成立专案的小组务必要协助跟督导地方政府即刻来启动危险建物的评估机制，做好警戒的工作，并且尽快的落实危险建物的拆除措施。
With aftershocks expected for at least a few more months, the work of Taiwan's building inspectors is far from over. Chris Ma and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
International support has poured in to help with post-quake reconstruction here in Taiwan. Donations have reached nearly $40 million, including private pledges. The April 3rd quake in Hualien killed 17 people, with the recent aftershocks causing even more damage to the region. Thousands of people remain homeless. The relentless pace of aftershocks in Taiwan is taking a toll on the public's mental health. It's especially hard for those living in Hualien, the worst hit area. Chris Gorin reports.
The 16 children and teens living in the shelter in Hualien have been trying to return to normal life ever since a 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck this quiet city. Despite being taught how to react if another quake were to occur, they were still rocked by a powerful aftershock early Monday morning. And the constant waves of aftershocks, more than 1,000 since April 3rd, have taken a toll on these students' mental health.
他们基本上都是在空地外面，他们不敢进到建筑物里面。
Between fears of building collapse and the constant nighttime aftershocks, just getting sleep has become one of the biggest challenges for these young people.
是有点被摇醒，也没有睡得很好。上课的时候比较想睡，然后午休马上就睡着了。
The continuous shaking has left these children in a perpetual state of anxiety.
害怕会更大，然后因为我们家里算是老公寓，就怕会裂掉之类的。
The fears and anxieties around another earthquake don't just affect children. Adults can just as easily lose sleep over these issues, leading to serious health consequences.
连续7天睡不好觉，人就很恍神了，也会心理、生理就就变成恶性循环，可能也影响你的脑力、注意力、记忆力，也影响你食欲啦，也影响你的脾气。
Beyond the physical damage, the mental cost of natural disasters is hard to calculate. Earthquakes are just a fact of life here in Taiwan. And generally speaking, people know how to react when disaster strikes. But given the sheer number of aftershocks this month, many are left struggling to adjust. Justin Wu and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Now, to better understand the psychological impact of these earthquakes, John Van Trieste spoke to Adam McMillan, director of mental health provider, the Community Center.
So has your service seen an increase in people seeking help in the 3 weeks since this big Hualien earthquake?
Typically, there's a lag with these kinds of things as people certainly will experience anxiety. Different people will experience anxiety in different ways. And for many of us, we will learn to regulate that ourselves. But for others who can't, they'll eventually come to us. But we'll see that weeks or months later.
And what is it important to do for people who have been through a traumatic event like a natural disaster to keep difficult emotions and painful memories from forming into PTSD?
In the case of trauma, an earthquake may actually trigger reactions from a past trauma in your life. And that can be really, really difficult to work with because you may not know what it is. So the therapist has to work with the client over a longer period of time to kind of get to that. What was that first trauma? And once you can acknowledge it, give it a name, even give it an identity in some cases, then you realize that isn't me. That isn't, it's a part of me. And you can then begin to work where you're in control of the part and not the part in control of you.
How would you rate Taiwan overall in terms of the resources that are available to deal with things like trauma and PTSD?
Like everything in Taiwan, it's getting better and better and better. They passed a mental health law in 2000, and they really started enforcing that mental health law in 2005. They have brought in lots of different outside resources, different groups here. So there's a group that brought in a field of therapy called somatic experiencing. And that has been hugely successful in Taiwan, and it's a very powerful tool to give to a therapist.
Once again, that was John Van Trieste speaking to the Community Center's director, Adam McMillan, about the psychological impact of Taiwan's recent string of earthquakes. In a first for Taiwan, firefighters got a helping hand from a water-shooting robot. The remote-controlled bot was sent in to tackle a blaze at a rice warehouse in Yilan County. The robot can resist heat and explosions and uses infrared cameras to detect heat sources. The county fire department spent $400,000 on 2 of the robots last year and plans to buy 4 more of them this year. Firefighter safety has been in the public spotlight in Taiwan recently. Local officials hope the robots will shield their human colleagues from some of the danger.
游戏机器人可以代替救火哈，当然是这个消防人员的安全就比较好的保障。
Taichung is increasing its lead as Taiwan's second largest city, hitting a record population in March. The central city grew 0.81% compared to last year and was the only city or county in central Taiwan to show an increase over that period. Recent transplants say education and employment opportunities are some of the reasons for moving to Taichung from surrounding regions. A Taiwanese gymnast has qualified for the Paris Olympic Games. Ting Hua-tien will take to the balance beam on her second Olympic appearance, and she made history after qualifying for the last Summer Olympics in Tokyo, becoming the first female gymnast to represent Taiwan at the Games since 1968. So far, Taiwan has secured around 30 spots at Paris 2024. Thank you for joining us here on What's Up Taiwan. Check out our TaiwanPlus website or social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Last up, check out these scenes from the Viva Las Vegas Rockabilly Festival in the United States. I'm Brossard. Take care. We'll see you next time.